The quality of the graduates are not, but they're the facts. We've got a high level. The problems are for that sector are regulation, I think, in one way. There is going to be a backlash there, and the question is how will Ireland do? But so far so good in terms of the incremental investment we've seen. I think the rest of the sector, I'm surprised you haven't seen more of a shakeout. Take Finland again. I mean, between 89 and 93, 30% of jobs at their banks, at the retail banks, were cut. Now, we've seen very few, if any, job losses here. So I think if these banks are to return to profitability more quickly, we'd certainly have to look at the cost side. So I'll be less favourable, at least in terms of employment, for the rest of the financial sector.
Would any members of the audience like to make a comment? Gentleman in the corner. There's a mic coming to you, so.
Hello, Richard Donlan. I was just wondering that we're very well placed in the back office in the last number of years. I'm wondering whether or not we should think about moving towards the front office, and also how we're placed to do that.
Anybody want to pick that up? We'll treat it as a comment. Any others? Okay, let's move on.
Well, maybe
surely someone will comment on that.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understood the question properly. You mean recently, over the last few years, Ireland has been providing administration-like services, like fund of funds administration, the like. Is that what you mean? You're now hoping to become more of a, say, front office, like, say, the firms like myself, fund management type of firm?
Exactly, yes, because due to regulation, a lot of the jobs could only be done within Dublin. But now a lot of the fund management jobs can move to countries such as Poland. And I'm just wondering if we have the capacity to sustain the level of activity in the back office at very high wage rates.
Competitiveness is a clear issue. I understand that. As Rossa said, the language is a clear benefit, but it needs to stay competitive. The reason the firms like ourselves are here, international firms based in Ireland, is simply for taxation reasons, if I'm honest, as well as a well-educated workforce. So maybe the Irish government should do whatever they can to attract more companies like ourselves.
Any other? David?
Just to maybe pick up on that a little bit. One of the things that David Hammond, British Consulting, one of the things that we try and do is specifically try and market Ireland as a potential location for front office activities. And I would be quite bullish, if you like, about the prospect of Ireland being able to do that, because there are a lot of very positive things here. The tax regime is reasonably good, but there's other good reasons for somebody to set up here. I think that the big challenge at the moment is the swing towards regulating in a sort of fairly strict way, and that's coming obviously from a number of countries and a number of applications. But if we can create a regime which is relatively user friendly, not light but user friendly from the point of view of getting things done quickly and getting approvals through, I think Ireland has quite a good future from that perspective. The other challenge will be to try and get the level of professional education and training up. I think that's the other criticism that we would hear sometimes voiced in Ireland. But if those two things could be solved, I think there's a lot of momentum amongst the asset management business in particular to try and look for places to work and do business.
Thank you very much. There's another comment over here.
Hello, Piers Harrell. Just someone mentioned that the American consumer has been the engine of the global economy for, say, past 15, 20 years. But has there been, and I read recently that they've already returned in the US to 2003 saving levels, and they're deleveraging as the Irish consumer is. So has there been any concrete research, or can anyone come out with concrete facts in terms of how quickly and how smoothly the US consumer is deleveraging? So we have an idea of future global demand.
Very briefly.
Well, the actual numbers in terms of household debt as a percentage of GDP at the end of 2008, I mean, you did see is in the space of about 5, 6, 7 years is the ratio moved from 71% to 100%. and right now you've gone down about 1 percentage point, so there is a long, long way to go. And you also have to put that in the context is that the amount of wealth that is being destroyed in what is an ageing economy. Remember, the baby boomers are just retiring. Are coming up to retirement age. This is going to be a long drawn out process. It's not going to be healed in the space of something that took 25 years to build is not going to be re-engineered or reconstructed in the space of 18 months.
So very, very brief. We're actually back even a little further. We're back to 95. The latest figure, I think, was 5.7%. We haven't seen that rate since 95. Just on Charlie's point there, actually, one way you could look at Ireland versus the US and would make you a little bit worried is on the, looking at another way rather than household debt to GDP, household debt to income. They're about 130%. We're about 180 here. So, look at the US. They've actually moved a long way from a point where they're in a negative savings ratio to that 5.7, let's say 6. Where will it settle? I don't think it goes much beyond 7 or 8%. I just think culturally, many of us, I'm sure in the room have seen the US consumer firsthand. I think it's culturally different to continental Europe in that way. So I think they've done a lot of the adjustment in savings, but it will stay there for some time. I can't see it coming back to the low figures we saw in recent years.
Can we move on? I want to call on Alberto Flaherty, who has a question.
Hi, Alberto Flaherty, Delco Bank. I'd like to ask the panel their opinion on NAMA and whether they view it as a step forward or a step in the wrong direction.
There's a big one. Marco.
It's a very tough one, really. I believe that NAMA is a necessary evil, if I can put it that way. After the Irish government guaranteed all the liabilities, at least for a year or so, from all the Irish banks, there was little. NAMA was like a natural progression from that move, because there is a time horizon that we have to deal with here, and we can push that back and keep guaranteeing all these bonds that perhaps with hindsight the government shouldn't have done. But nonetheless, I think NAMA is a natural consequence of this move. On that point, I'd like to say that. Let me see. I had a quick note I wanted to say that.
Do you want me to come back to you on it?
Yeah, let me come back to that in a minute.
Okay, Charlie, do you want to give us your view?
Yeah, well, personally, I think well, I wouldn't say a step backward. It's more of the same. Ireland has been and now has an international reputation of crony capitalism and the in-crowd, golden circle, what have you, is the fundamental problem that I have with it. I do not like the idea of socialising losses and nationalising gains. And in this situation is even the investment management industry, but the investment management industry totally failed in monitoring the activities of banks, and therefore is on the downside, should be wiped out if needs be. Is also, I would say, in terms of senior management, and it all goes within NAMA, is promotions to the top from inside. Do not agree with former chief executives becoming chairman. I think we need a real change, and this isn't real change. And I would also say is I cannot see necessarily how this is going to solve the problem, because if the bad assets are actually purchased at an appropriate discount, which should be roughly 20-25%, and you also throw in, because there will be a little bit of regulatory issues here because of pension fund deficits and losses on available for sale portfolios, is 25% discount would wipe shareholders out completely. So I can't see really what it solves. But as I said, I seriously have a problem with it in the first place, is that even senior managers with their options and stuff in banks get to benefit from the upside when they made all these mistakes. They keep their jobs, have the upside.
What solution would you prefer, Terry?
I think the banks in total, they should be taken over and then split. That's exactly what happened in Sweden. And I think senior management should be replaced. And you split them, is that the good banks would be held for only a short period of time. I do not see any reason why. We're not talking about that they'd be government run. In fact, in Sweden they were totally at an arm's length basis, and you had no issues of crony capitalism or anything like that. It's because actually, in terms of the problem property loans, most of them were liquidated. So I have a problem there as well. Is why should the developer be saved? I mean, the fact is they speculated, they got it wrong, and therefore you go bust. It's called capitalism.
Jerry, is it as clear as that?